Hello, fellow travelers, and welcome to the Diversion of the Stars podcast. How are my loyal listeners? Thank you for your continued support. And as always, hit that subscribe button, everybody. We have an amazing show for you all because aboard the mothership is Tyler Regan. He's a comedian, actor, and social media star. Now come join me as we go traversing the stars. Hello, Mr. Regan. Thank you so much for coming to the Traversing the Stars podcast.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate it.
It's a great honor to talk with you, sir. We spoke a little bit off show how important your show is to me getting through my day. I want to thank you very much for coming on and talking with me.
Yeah, no, I'm excited. This is great.
So I always start off with a question of inspiration. So what inspired your love for performing comedy and who your earliest influences?
I feel like comedy came from me not really having like a lot of friends like growing up, which is I feel like the most cliche thing, but like I was really energetic as a kid. I just I got in trouble a lot because of it. Like I was never like mean, but I was always like bouncing off the walls. So like, as Robin Williams says, comedy is a good cathartic way to deal with personal trauma, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, like in terms of actual like inspirations, definitely Robin Williams. Chris Rock was like my first like stand-up comedian I loved, and then a lot of Monty Python growing up. So a lot of like British humor. So kind of all over the place, to be honest.
So when you first thought growing up about doing comedy, was it always in your mind to be a social media comedian, or did you do stand-up for a while? How did that work out?
So social media, I mean, I had MySpace growing up. I don't think there was social media comedians. I mean, my top 8 consisted of like just like my friends. Like I didn't really know. I mean, I don't think social media like wasn't really even a career until like probably 2012, 2013 was like the early days of like Smosh monetizing. So like by that point I was graduating college. So it never crossed my mind. Comedy was never kind of a career path. Film was always a career path. So I did film growing up. I had in high school videos in like a film festival. My first film class was when I was, I don't know, 6. I told my parents I really wanted to be a director, and being cool parents, they signed me up for an animation class. And really it was a love for it that never in my mind was going to turn into anything, because I played soccer growing up. I played Division I soccer. So kind of the dream became be a professional soccer player. And it wasn't until after I graduated college, I played professional soccer for about a season, injured myself, career-ending injury. That was that, and had to reevaluate. And after a couple years of bouncing around to different careers, I realized that I still had this love for creating content and trying to make people laugh. And I kind of just started making Instagram and YouTube videos, moved to LA, classic influencer move. And it was, was able to make a career out of it, which has been awesome.
So what did you do for college? Or what was that first attempt, the first goal when you entered college?
So I went to school, Cornell University. So, so went there and I did media studies. So I did film studies. I did, I kind of lined myself up to do this for a living, which without even meaning to. Honestly, it was what I was interested in. And I felt like, if it wasn't the perfect major for what I ended up getting into, it was still a good major from a good school. And I was like, yeah, I'll be fine. Like, I didn't really know what I wanted to do. Again, my focus was very much soccer. And I wouldn't say my studies were taking a back seat, but like my dream was to be a soccer player. That's all I wanted to do. So I kind of did media studies because it was what I was always interested in, but I didn't really know exactly what that was going to lead to. Maybe the thought process was when I was done playing soccer, I could do sports announcing. Maybe that was kind of what went into it. It was so long ago now. I don't remember.
Well, Cornell University, that's big time right there, huh?
Yeah, no, it was, I was really lucky to be able to go to a school. So I met a lot of great people, learned a lot, obviously. So, yeah.
Now, one of your, do you call them reels? Do you call them bits? Do you call them sketches? What do you call them?
I guess it depends on the platform, because I have folders and it's like, oh, this is a TikTok script, but then I put that TikTok video and I put it on Facebook and it becomes a reel, and then I put it on a YouTube video and it's a short. So it's just skit, I guess.
Skit, okay. Well, one of your best skits, and I think it was one of your more recent ones, is called "He Has One Viral Video." Now, which in the viral video you state that you feel attacked by your own video. Now, how close to reality did things happen in this way?
so it's funny because when I started doing this, I worked as a project manager, and it was nothing to do with obviously film or anything. I certainly didn't have one viral video, quit my job, and moved to LA. However, I feel like that was maybe like the attacking of it was kind of my inner being. When I finally had a video go viral, I felt like this is going to last forever. This is going to be great. And then you get humbled real quick. So like, if there's anyone listening that's ever done content creation, you know, and have had something go viral or semi-viral, and you're like, wow, this is the new normal. Like, wow, I'm going to get 100,000 views every video, or I'm going to get whatever it is, 500 views every video. And then the next video goes up and you're like, ah, darn, that's not good. So I'm more attacking myself in the fact that, you know, early on, I definitely had to understand that there was no normal, and volatility was the only thing that I can expect.
Yeah.
So it was less the actual character quitting the job, moving to LA, getting merch and all that stuff, and more the kind of that confidence that you get when you have a video go viral. And or on the flip side, that kind of like, oh no, I'm ruined if videos don't do well. So like, it's about even keel. That's the only thing you can do when you're dealing with the volatility of an algorithm.
So when things went well and you got that excited, and then when you hit that bump, what kind of went through your head when the bump got hit, and how confident were you that you were going to recover from it?
Which bump?
A lot of
yeah, I mean, it's honestly, it's I will say that this year is the first year where I feel like fully like, okay, like if things fall apart, I'll be able to get them to recover. Like, I don't feel like I always tell people, don't worry about the ceiling, worry about the floor. Raise the floor first, right? You want your worst case scenario to be something that you can comfortably be okay with. Because so many things change, algorithms change. Like, you know, back in the day, maybe 5, 6, 7 years ago, you saw many YouTubers getting 20 million, 30 million, 40 million views on videos. And now you really see one person. You see Mr. Beast get that, and that's about it. Because it's just not like, you know, it's not really viable to expect that every single video. So for people that are older YouTubers that have lived through the time where you can get videos just do super well and you could grow very fast, you have to always adjust to what the new normal is. So I feel like now I have a really good grasp on that, because I've been through, you know, it's been 5 years, but I feel like 5 years is like 5 different generations of platforms, you know. And you know, perfect example is on TikTok. I had a video, my very first video that hit 1 million views, I gained like 40,000 followers. Now, if I have a video hit, you know, 1 million views, I might gain 1,000. It's just harder to gain followers because there's so much more competition, because everything's more saturated, because everyone's creating content. You need to convince people that much more that you're worth following. So the conversion has gone down. That doesn't mean the videos are worse because I'm growing more slowly. It's simply that's how it goes now. So you have to just keep that in mind every step of the way. So for me, like when things go poorly, I just kind of roll with it. You have no choice.
Now, as a podcaster, the word that always haunts me is algorithm, because it and I will say that I find myself fighting the algorithm every month or so. I'm just like, you know, because not to your level, because I'm not looking at 1 million views or anything like that, but at my level, even where I'll have a video come out and I'll be like, this one I expected this from, and it doesn't get that. And you think to yourself, what the hell? And you know, the algorithms are changed regularly. So as someone who is professionally, because I'm not a professional podcaster, I'm a teacher who does this at night. As a professional podcaster, how actively are you studying the algorithms and figuring out what to do about the algorithms, and when I hear about algorithms, sometimes aren't always accurate. So how are you navigating that?
I feel like the algorithm gets tossed around a lot, and it's almost like it's treated like God, almost like where it's like it almost knows what it's doing.
Right.
And the truth of the matter is it doesn't. Like, the algorithm is not aware of its goal. Like it's a machine learning algorithm. It essentially takes an information, and its only goal is to make the company money. And it's going to do that any way it sees fit, which is why if you talk to someone at YouTube, if you can reach someone at YouTube, which you can't, but like, let's pretend in this weird parallel universe, you could talk to someone at YouTube, they would be completely honest when they would say like, I don't know how it works. Like, I don't know why it's showing this video and not this video. You know that there are factors that go into play because you can kind of reverse engineer it to a point and say, what is good for, like, let's say YouTube. What's good for YouTube? Well, what's good for YouTube is people staying on the platform. So if you have a video that pushes people off the platform, they probably won't show it. If you have a video that is an hour long and people are only watching a minute of it, that's not good. If people are, you know what I mean? Like, so you can make really probably solid deductive reasonings about what is good for YouTube, but that doesn't mean anything because I've had plenty of videos where I'm like, okay, the click-through rate's good, the watch time's good, the relative watch time's good, but the video did bad. What am I missing? And that's because there's so much more information out there that, you know, can't be put into a spreadsheet, can't be put into a graph, you know? So in terms of studying it, like, yeah, I look at every video, I track watch times, I track click-through rates, I make sure to track whatever relative metric I have access to. And I personally, for like TikTok, I've created a bit of a formula where I put everything into a spreadsheet, and every single value or every single metric, whether it be watch time, percentage to get to the end, you know, just a bunch of different metrics, I've given a value to certain ranges, and it spits out a number. And I know if that number, I think the number goes 1 to 5. I know if the number is 3, it's going to be an average video. If it's a 5, it's going to go viral. If it's a 1, it's going to do poorly. And, you know, is it perfect science? No, but it's kind of like the theory of relativity in the sense that's like, if it works, it's right, you know? And for me, for my specific videos, I have found that all 5s go viral, all 1s do badly, and all 3s are right around normal, you know? But normal changes. And that's where it gets really difficult because, you know, my average video used to get, you know, maybe 200,000 views, and then now it's 250, or maybe it's 150, you know, things are changing constantly. So I study it on a regular basis. I'm tracking it on a regular basis. But that's all you can do. You learn a lot from your failures and your successes. So, you know, every time a video does well or poorly, you stick it in and you go, what can I learn from this?
And I really like that. And like I said, as a podcast on my end, trying to navigate all this, I noticed the waves are brutal. Like sometimes, like, you know, I had, I think early on, it was like this great wave where every month was like doubling and doubling. And then, you know, I think in like August, I've had a slump. And since I'm thinking to myself, it's definitely mentally hard to deal with because you think, you know, will it ever go back up? You know, and you start thinking at the top was your goal or what you thought was going to be your new normal, and it's not. So now you got to like readjust what you think. So, I mean, psychologically, this it's a really hard thing for you that you do because psychologically it's so based on what's else is happening around you.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
Yeah, no, I agree. I mean, you have a quantifiable way to say, am I doing a good job? When you're doing something, art, in the simplest sense, that's not, you can't look at a Picasso painting, not that what I do is Picasso by any stretch, but you can't look at a Picasso painting and go, that's a 7 out of 10. Like, there's no quantifiable way to look at that and go, right, this is this value, right? On the internet, you make a video and you're like, got this many likes, got this many views, it's all very clean, which is bad because it's not black or white. It's not good or bad. There's a huge range for people's enjoyment of all kinds of media. So you have to separate yourself, as impossible as it is, you have to separate yourself from it, or you're going to drive yourself crazy. And you know, when I was first on YouTube, I have a YouTube channel that has 430,000 subscribers I haven't touched in about 2 years, and I probably will never touch again because it's not the type of content I want to make anymore. And there's no good way to reverse it. And so I'm just going to start a new YouTube channel and start over, because I find it's much easier to make content that you really want to make and find the audience that wants to watch that content than it is to try to make content that you think people are going to watch. Because if you start making content you think people want to watch, one of two things are going to happen. People are going to watch it, in which case you're stuck making content that you don't want to make, but other people want you to make. Right. That's miserable. Or no one watches it, in which case you're not enjoying the content and nobody's watching it. On the flip side, if you're making content you want to make, the worst case scenario is you're making content you want to make. That's the worst case scenario, right? And it's like, if you find that correct audience, then you get the best of both worlds. So yeah, I would say it's as hard as it is, you just have to separate yourself from it. And it took me a long time. I mean, it took me years to, you know, first I was like super, oh my God, every high and every low, I'm like freaking out and being happy. And I'd be like, no, I'm ruined. Yeah, I'm famous. No, I'm not. Like, it's that. And then, I did the opposite. I overcorrected. I got super numb to it. I didn't get excited about my highs. I didn't care about the lows, and I get numb. And that's bad because numbness is like straight up depression. And then you eventually find a good middle ground where you're like, okay, like I can just be, you can't get too high on highs, but you can be like, oh, I'm really proud of that one. That did well. And oh, well, what can I learn from this one? This one didn't do well. Like
Right.
You can keep it even keel.
I think the worst thing that I've done, I found YouTube Buddy and YouTube Studio where it tracks minute by minute the view counts that you're getting. When you're at your level, do you find it like I'm only going to look this many times in a day? I'm only going to do. Like, did you mentally find a medium for yourself on how often you're checking these things, or have you let the beast get to you?
So I check it a lot. And I don't check it a lot because I necessarily care. I'm looking for a disaster, essentially. I'm looking for, okay, did a video get taken down? Did I get copywritten? Did something happen? Did it mute my video? Like, I'm checking to see if there's any disaster. I'm not really checking for, hey, what views am I getting this hour? Right? So it's more just, I guess, damage control, the reason I check for, because on YouTube, I have tons of videos. On Facebook, I have like, 100 and something videos. On TikTok, I have like 300 videos. So like, I'm always checking to make sure nothing is going wrong. But that's about it. Like, that's the reason I check more so than views.
Now, like I said, I absolutely love your videos. As I mentioned, like I said, when I'm in a rough mood, the videos come on. Even at home, I had a, bad, rough time at home, videos to watch your, put myself in a better mood. So, how long does it take you to write these videos?
I guess it depends. I mean, so there are videos, like I did a video maybe a couple months ago that was how they named Dick's Sporting Goods. And it popped into my head. And I was like, this is a ridiculous, stupid idea. I thought I was going to do really poorly, actually, and I ended up doing much better than I expected. I maybe wrote that script in 5 minutes because it was something I was like talking to somebody about, and I was like, I'm going to do a video about that. And I just wrote it, and I was like, done. And I filmed it, and it was done. It took maybe like from concept to actual video being done was like less than an hour.
Oh, wow.
And then there's times that I'll be sitting down, I'll be like, I'll look at my posting schedule because I have a posting schedule for everything. And I'm like, I don't have a video for Wednesday, and it's Sunday, and I got nothing. I've had writer's block for a week, and I need to post Wednesday, and I got nothing. So I'm going to sit in this chair until I figure something out. And that's not fun, but that is sometimes just a necessary evil of, putting out content 6-7 times a week. Like, sometimes when I'm super motivated, I get really ahead because I know inevitably I'm going to get writer's block at some point. So on a good day, I can write a script in 15 minutes. On a bad day, it might be an hour. Sometimes I'll write it, come back to it. Like, I have a series, it's called Harry Potter, except for your wand size is your penis size. Can I say penis? Am I allowed to say? All right, well, that's what it is. It's inappropriate. And that I wrote the very first script maybe 6 months before I had an ending for it. I wrote the concept. I was like, this is funny. And I got all the way to like the last, like second to last line. I was like, I have no idea how to end this. And I was like, I'm going to figure it out later. And I woke up one day, I don't know, 6 months later, I was like, I got it. Now, I don't know what I was dreaming about, but I came up with it. And I was like, that's the ending. Wrote the ending, filmed it the next day, and put it up. So it really varies. I would say the hardest part is coming up with the ideas. Once I have an idea, it's pretty, I've gotten pretty good at just knocking out a script, but it could still take, an hour. And then the actual filming and editing, I've gotten down essentially to a science. I can film something in 15 minutes. I can edit it in 45 minutes and be done. So the actual concepts proved to be the hardest thing.
Now, are you filming by yourself as well and doing all that as well?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you don't have a crew or anything like that?
Not currently. So I had a crew before the pandemic in Los Angeles. I had a full-time producer who I had like a salaried producer. Then he moved back to Philadelphia, where I'm from, maybe in March. And since then, or did I have another producer? I had one other producer for like a part-time producer for maybe like, and it was a friend of mine who had time, and I hired him part-time for maybe a couple months, but really since summer 2020, it's been a solo operation. And when I get back to LA, so I'm on this road trip right now. I'm not in a submarine, I'm in a RV. And once I'm back in December from this road trip, I'm going to probably hire a full-time producer again so I can do some more longer form content. Because the short form content, it's all behind a green screen. Lighting super easy, mic super easy. I'm playing all the characters. I'm just wearing a different shirt. So it's not like it's really difficult in terms of costumes or anything. There's no location to worry about. So, I can keep this shit moving really easily. For those short form content. Once I want to get back to long form content though, like I said, I want to start on the YouTube channel and some stuff like that. So once the long form content starts, that's where I'm probably going to need at least a camera guy. Or, I don't really know exactly what I'm going to do long form yet. I'm still working that out, but I'm probably going to get some sort of producer or camera guy. So.
Well, I think one of the cool things is that, like you said, you play every character, and that's some serious acting. You're doing a lot of different types of characters. So, I mean, do you have any professional background in acting, or are you just learning as you're going?
Yeah, I mean, I made videos my whole life. I mean, so I acted in my own videos forever. But I've actually never taken an acting class in my life. It's always just been me and a camera. And so I've just kind of gotten used to it. And it's funny because I look back on my older videos, like the 2017 videos, and I'm like, damn, I suck. And now and same thing with like editing. I feel like everything, and I'm sure you experience this all the time, where like your editing gets better and your acting gets better and your personality on camera gets better and everything just improves as you do it. So I go back to 2017. I'm like, the editing sucks. My acting sucks. What's up with the sound quality? What was I thinking? And then I look at my videos now. I'm like, I'm awesome. This is great. And I know that in 3 years, I'm going to look back at these videos and be like, what was I thinking? These are horrible. It's just because it's just the natural progression. But yeah, I feel like it's just been from being in all these videos that I've kind of gained some sort of acting, I want to say prowess, but ability. Very minor.
So, I mean, the length seems perfect. And I mentioned, they're perfectly digestible clips. Is that like a studied research that your clip is going to be this long? Is that something that just seems to be a perfect clip? As someone who watches Saturday Night Live, you watch some of those skits go on, and then like 10 minutes of it, you're like, oh my God, dude, the joke stopped at, 3 minutes. How did you determine the length? And is this an actual researched thing?
So when I started TikTok, because TikTok's where those shorter clips started for me. And at the time it was, you had to be under 60 seconds. And I had a couple videos that were like in the high 50 seconds. And I was like, they don't do well. People drop off because you always have to assume that some people are just going to scroll by your videos, right? So if you have a really long video and you have 10%, let's say 20% of people that just scroll by, the longer that video is, the more that's going to drag this watch time down and make that percentage much lower. So then I started doing like 16-second videos, and they did decently. But then when once I wanted to do really scripted stuff, because I didn't start with scripted stuff. I didn't know what I was doing on TikTok. I was making videos. Once I kind of found what I'm known for now, like these skits, you just can't really tell a story, set the context up, establish the character in like 10 seconds or 15 seconds. I feel like I need some time if it's not just a one-off joke. Like obviously sometimes you'll have a one-off joke, it'll be 10, 15 seconds and it's funny and that's it. But when I'm actually trying to tell a full story, I'm trying to 30 seconds, 40 seconds is just what it takes. And it's funny, I feel like my writing's improved trying to fit full stories into 30 or 40 seconds. It's almost like, in a lot of ways, Twitter makes you a better writer, as weird as that sounds, because you're like, I have a very small amount of space. Right. I need to get a thought out, and you can't use all this superfluous language. You just gotta say you gotta say it. And I feel like TikTok and Reels and short form content makes you kind of figure out what is necessary, what line, there's this line that's maybe two sentences. I need to make it half a sentence. How can I do that same thing? And sometimes it's with your face, sometimes it's with a line, sometimes it's with maybe a tone, and you're able to get it shorter. And so I feel like in a lot of ways, I've gotten much more experienced in terms of editing and writing because of that time constraint.
But one of your favorite videos, and like as someone who's married, I love the husband helpline bits. They're so incredibly dead on. The one that caught me because it actually happened a couple of days ago. My wife woke up and she's like, I hate you. I was like, what the hell did I do? And she goes, you cheated on me in my dream. I was like, not my fault. She goes, yes, it is. You did it in the dream, so obviously you're thinking about it. I was like, your dream.
I've had the same conversation.
Right. But I was wondering about, like, is this stuff coming from your real experience with dating or whoever was your other?
Yeah, I mean, it actually has. I mean, so it's funny because like the Husband Helpline series was just a spin-off of had a Karen Helpline series, and the Karen Helpline series did really well. And I was like, I like this helpline concept. Let me just make I don't think, I mean, there's plenty of people that do a similar thing, and mine just came from my Karen Helpline series. And they're funny because like they are obviously based on pretty old stereotypes and but like they still resonate with people. And obviously, like, it varies relationship to relationship. It varies. Sometimes the husband will do it to the wife. And so like, it's one of those things where it's probably the most kind of like generic thing I do, because it is based on such like kind of outdated like ideas about husband and wife. However, even though like that's the case, I hear from a lot of people like, this actually happens to me all the time. So I do find it funny because there's a bit of a dichotomy there where it's like, which one is it? Because I like, you know what I mean? Like it's funny that resonates with you. Because there's plenty of people that say the same thing, that like, I had that same conversation today. Like, so that's funny.
I'm not even kidding. It was literally 2 days ago. And I stopped for a few minutes because I was trying to figure out if my wife was actually angry or she was like joking with me. But the more she kept doing, I was like, "Oh my god, she actually is angry at me." I was not
dead on. That's funny.
And I think the funny thing is, if you did it the opposite, you did like the wife helpline, it wouldn't hit the same way.
Well, I think it's because, and I don't even think this is a stereotype, men are inherently dumber when it comes to reading social cues. So I don't think that like wife helpline would work as much, because men are pretty simple creatures. It's just like, feed me, let me go to sleep, let me do this, let me do this. So I do think that you're right, that it wouldn't necessarily work on the flip side. Though I'm sure there are creators out there that could pull it off. I just don't think I could.
Like I said, a lot of your skits, like I said, I really enjoy them. One of them, another one that I really like is you did one on quiet quitting, which became a pretty big conversational point. Maybe I think about a few months ago, people started talking a lot about it on social media. When you're creating these kinds of skits, are you trying to convey a message and a point, or is it just for humor, or is a deeper meaning? You're kind of, because there is some, feels like the social commentary in a lot of your stuff as well, that's underlining and does actually hit pretty damn good.
Yeah, no, I appreciate it. Yeah, I would say that a lot of the times, like, I will set out to write a script that has some sort of social commentary, like if there's something going on that I have a strong belief on, or if there's just something, I have a platform and I feel like I'm allowed to have some thoughts about things. And so sometimes I put it out, like I'll do like one where I feel like the maternity leave laws in America are leave a lot to be desired, to say the least. So I've done videos about maternity leave and being like, hey, it should be longer. Hey, it should be mandatory paid versus just mandatory unpaid. Like there's certain things. And I'll set out a video that has a very clear message where it's like, maternity leave needs to be better. Like, and then there's sometimes like the quiet quitting one where I actually backed into that joke. Like I didn't have that joke in mind. I was like, oh, let me do a video about being asked to work late, because that's happened to me a lot and I have friends that happens to all the time. And then the joke kind of slipped in perfectly because I was writing it and that was going on, and I was like, oh my god, like this is literally that. And it wasn't even intentional until I was writing the script and I found out that I could just slide in that little piece of like kind of current event social commentary. So yeah, sometimes I set out to do it and sometimes I'm just pulling from something that's happening in a relevant script.
So a lot of your jokes too are at the expense of a business. Let's say Home Depot, McDonald's. Are you ever, like, do the companies ever come back at you with like knock it off, or is it all, just humor?
No, I mean it's happened once or twice, but
oh, really?
I would say more often than not, companies are like, this is really funny. Like I've been reached out to by a number of companies I've made videos about, and they're like, ha, that's good. Like I actually had one where I made what did I make fun of? It was the opposite. I made fun of one company and then their competitor came to me. I was like, ha, like that's good. So yeah, I mean, honestly, I never make like I feel like I never really make jokes about things that like are crossing any sort of line when it comes to these companies. Like it's poking fun. And for the most part, I think they look at it as publicity more than anything else, like when it does well. Because most of these places, like the reason I know these funny nuances is because I go to these places. Like I'm not going to be like, I make fun of McDonald's. Like I ate McDonald's like last week. Like it's fine. Like I'm not like, you can make fun of something and you can poke fun at it, or you can poke fun at something and still like it. Like I feel like, the reason I'm able to understand all these nuances to a certain place is because I've been there more than once. Like Dave and Buster's is a great example. I made a video that was like making fun of Dave and Buster's. I love Dave and Buster's. It's a great place. It's super fun. Doesn't change the fact that it's a ridiculous business model when they're like, pay $5 to play Flappy Bird. Like that's absurd. I'll still do it every time. Like so yeah. So I feel like a lot of these companies understand that, and they would rather have my funny like kind of skit poking fun than like someone being like, this is why I hate this company, and like actually angrily maybe making a review. So I feel like they'd be fighting a battle that doesn't really make much sense.
And I think that's another thing that's great about your videos is that they are good natured. I mean, they're ribbing of these things. They're good natured. It would probably be different if it seemed like more like bitter. It probably wouldn't have quite the entertainment value.
I think so. I mean, I get my DMs filled all the time by people being like, you're a piece of going off on me, being like, you're the most bitter, blah, blah, you complain about everything. Like I've gotten that before. But that's just also part of the business. Like you're going to get, horrible things said to you on a regular basis. But for the most part, yeah, I think that most people take it as good natured, other than maybe one or two random trolls. So that's what I'm going for anyway.
Right. As someone who is on your business social media, how does it feel to have to deal with social media people who are inherently the worst, I think?
Oh man. Some are bad, some aren't bad. I mean, I would say honestly, most of my friends and acquaintances that are social media people are lovely. And obviously there are some that are not. And there's a lot of social climbing, there's a lot of cutthroat behavior, there's a lot of fake things that will happen. And I've had friends get cut out. I've been cut out by people before, and when things dip, people will leave, and I've seen it happen to everyone at every size, and it's a shame. However, you find good people, and you stick around with good people, and you try to keep your circle the way it is. And I'm a firm believer that it doesn't matter what your industry is, good people get screwed because you're a good person. And I've made mistakes, other people have made mistakes, and life happens. But I think genuinely, for the most part, social media people are just doing their thing too. But yeah, there is definitely a reason behind the stigma, because there is, like I said, a lot of that cut your throat to get ahead type mentality, because it is so competitive.
So as someone who gives entertainment to so many people, I mean, what does that feel like? Is there pressure involved in knowing there are people probably like me, or like, I'm having a bad day, I need a good video to watch? I mean, like, is there pressure involved? Do you just enjoy the ride of all this? What does that feel like?
I don't know if it's pressure. I mean, I feel pressure to keep the train moving more so than anything else, because it won't last forever, and I know that. And I feel like that's one thing that is a tough reality for a lot of people in this business, where it's like, wow, I'm making great money, or I'm getting great views, it's going to never end because look at me, like even my worst case scenario is here, and that's fine. Like, and then you get here, and then your worst case scenario becomes lower, and then your worst case, and eventually everyone will come back to earth. It doesn't mean necessarily you're a failure. It means that your peak is a peak for a reason, and you will always come back down, and that's okay. And I don't know where I am in my trajectory. I could be at my peak right now. So I think that because you have no idea, you have to enjoy it. You just have to enjoy the ride, and you got to understand that, like, if this is as good as it gets, I better enjoy it. And if it's not as good as it gets, it's going to get better. Let's enjoy the ride. Like, I mean, you have no idea, and things can change tomorrow. And, I feel that right now, where I'm sitting right now, is the most successful I've been. I'm the most comfortable financially. I'm the most comfortable in terms of, views and all this stuff. And I'm able to, really like enjoy this. And so I feel like right now is probably the most pressure I've felt, because I'm like, this is going great. Let me capitalize now. Let me make sure I'm able to figure out what I want to do next. What's my next step? Because social media is not forever. So how can I take this and do it in a way that is more sustainable? Whether it's, writing for a TV show, whether it's this, whether it's that, like, I don't know what it is yet, but I feel, I guess probably the most pressure there, trying to figure out what's my next step, which isn't necessarily the best way to think about it, most likely, but it is kind of where my head goes when I'm thinking, what pressure do I feel? And it's probably that.
So do you think you're going to eventually make it to TV and end up doing comedy sketches and things?
No idea. I mean, what I would love to. I mean, obviously, it's very competitive. I look at Tim Robinson, like, I think you should leave and stuff like that. And I look at a lot of these sketch comedy shows, whether it be SNL or anything smaller ones. Like, I would love to write for those. I would love to write for a TV show. I'd love to make a web series or a mini series. I mean, there's a lot of things I'd be really happy doing. I look at what I'm doing now is so fun, and I'm really building a resume out for myself and getting paid to do it. So I'm loving that. And I think that right now, more so than ever, like I said, going back to the pressure I feel, it is like, what is that next step? Is it TV? Is it trying to do a movie? Is it trying to act? Is it trying to write? Is it like, what am I doing here? And I feel like that is, to your point, I don't fully know what that next step is, but I know that there has to be a next step, because most likely, I mean, with the volatility of everything we were talking about before with the algorithm, you have to have another plan. And so, and it's possible that no plan comes to fruition and that nothing changes on social media, and social media becomes more and more a place where people can make a career. It's just that I don't think it's in a place yet where you can just be like, hey, this is my job now forever, because it's just too all over the place. So you have to always make sure that you're, unless you're like Mr. Beast level, in which case, yes, you're good. Like you're fine. Like you can do it forever. But someone smaller like me, there's definitely, you don't have to fall too far to be able to not pay your bills, right? So you need to make sure you're always kind of looking ahead.
So you have a website with merchandise and you have a Patreon. For our listeners, what is the best way for them to support you and help you out?
What is the best way? I mean, I have a Patreon, which is access to a Discord, and we chat. We have a bunch of people, but another way to do it, and I'm actually changing up some of the pricing modeling on Patreon. You can subscribe to me on Facebook, which there's follow and there's subscribe. Subscribe is $4.99. You get access to that same Discord. So that's the current cheapest option to get into the Discord. But honestly, watch the videos, share them, watch them to the end. If you enjoy them, share them with a friend and comment and like, that's really the best thing. I mean, because, obviously if you're like, you really want to spend the money and support me, I appreciate that. And like I said, Patreon or subscribing on Facebook is the most straightforward way to do that. But free support is great because, it's free for everyone, but I still get paid for views. You know what I mean? So it's like, it's a good way where it's a win-win, where if you watch a bunch of videos and share a bunch of videos and that kind of creates a snowball effect, it's a free way for them and it's a positive still financially for me. So yeah, I mean, whatever people want to do, I'm always grateful for.
Well, Mr. Regan, it's been a great honor to speak with you, sir. Thank you so much. And I hope you have a fantastic night. And to our listeners, watch the videos. They are absolutely awesome, entertaining.
Thank you. I really appreciate the time. It was awesome.
So totally my pleasure.
You too.